Hello everybody. Now I'm working on my 4020 air conditioning system. I fixed it here a couple years ago, cleaned all the evaporators and condensers out and put a new air filter and vacuumed out the system and recharged it, and it worked good until one of the old hoses blew out. So I had to take them off, and I took them over to the Napa store, and the fellow at the Napa store was able to reuse the ends and put on new hoses. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'll show you what they did. So here is at the compressor. It's an older style compressor, and I've got a new belt on it. Got that tightened up. They're kind of difficult to adjust. You got to have exactly the right size belt because there's very little adjustment on this setup. But anyway, here's the hoses that I had recrimped on the old ends, and now I'm vacuuming it, and I've got my meters hooked up to the compressor and to the vacuum pump, and I'll let that run for an hour or so to make sure it gets out as much as possible. Right now, you can see on the gauges that they're pulling a vacuum down below zero there, and it should be pretty much evacuated, but I'll let it run a little bit longer, and then I will shut it off. That's a Yellow Jacket vacuum pump, and you want to make sure it's got oil in it. It's got a gauge here, right here, and it shows you how much oil's in it. And there's the vacuum gauge to show you it's pulling vacuum. And so I will let that run for a little bit longer and then shut it off and let the gauges sit and see if it'll hold the vacuum. But over on the other side here, up in the cab, take these hoses out up in here. This is where the one connects to, right up in here. Had to take that out and those two hoses and go down the B pillar or the A pillar. They come out here and go through the firewall and then down underneath the tractor. The other one comes up here and hooks on up here, up on the evaporating coil. And with the cooling fans, I've gone through those, took them apart, cleaned up the bushings, and put a little grease in the bushings, gone through the switches, and cleaned out the evaporator, pressure washed it out, pressure washed all this out. You got to have it all cleared out good in order to make it run efficiently. And then down in here is the condenser that I cleaned out with a new air filter. And I'll put on some new weather stripping and some new foam in here. I got to clean that up a little bit. It's got some flies in it for the last couple of years. There's the evaporating pan. I'll have to clean that out. Putting on new hoses on the evaporator to drain. But yeah, eventually get this cooling and probably get a new cab kit and put in it. So it's been a couple hours now, and it's still holding the vacuum. Both needles are negative and haven't moved, and so is the gauge on the pump. So I'm going to disconnect and start pumping in the Freon. Well, I looked into why my cooling fans were not working up on top of the cab on my 4020 air conditioning system, and took this motor apart, and the wires are all burned up on it. There's been some arcing going on. I don't know what the problem is, but anyway, there's two of them up there, and the other one I took back apart and re-oiled it, and it seems to be fine. So it was always running, and this one didn't want to run, so I acquired another one out of another tractor, and I'm going to take it apart and see if it's any good and oil it. So I took the fan off. It takes a little, I think, 30-second Allen wrench, and you want to make sure you kind of work it back and forth and don't force it. Make sure your Allen is clear embedded into the screw too, so it doesn't strip over. And then I'm just going to test it here to see if it runs before I tear into it. And you can use, I got a DeWalt battery here, a 20 volt, and it has a negative and a positive post on clear on the outside edges. So I just took it, the black to the negative and the orange to the positive. And as you can see, it runs pretty good. Should work fine. So I'm going to take the bolts out of here. And then this little dirt wiper up here, you got to be careful and just kind of gently work that off. And if your shaft is a little crappy, scrape it off or use a sandpaper and clean up that shaft. It looked like they had anti-seize on there, which is nice. Kind of work that crimped on washer. Don't want to pull that apart because that shaft is in the, has got brushes on the other end. And then push the rest of it out the other end. It's got a magnet in there, so it wants to attract everything. But there's the brushes in there. Looks like everything's pretty good shape. There's a ball bearing down on this end that you can't really get out. And there's no reason to it anyway. It's not greasable. But just want to blow this all out, get all the crud out of it, make sure the brushes are good, and then put some, I got some of this lithium penetrating grease, and I just spray a little bit of that on the shaft when I put it back together, and that should suffice. It's just a bronze bushing in there, so just a little bit of grease on there will go a long ways. But you want to make sure you don't pull that armature out of the lower base because you might damage the brushes. So you might as well just leave that all together like that. Inspect the windings. The windings look good. Doesn't look like it's ever gotten hot. I think it'll probably serve us for quite a while. So I'm just going to blow that out, grease a little bit, and put it back together. So when you put this back together, you want to make sure you get that rubber grommet for the wires in the slot. And it's pulling against me on the magnetism of the rotor and the stator. But you want to make sure you don't, as you put in the stator on the armature, that you don't get in here and damage any of the wires as it's trying to pull on you with that magnetism. So once you get it that far and everything seems to turn fine, and then I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. They're pretty simple, but you can damage them. Clean that bushing up good. And then just put a little bit of this lithium penetrated on there. And there's some spacer washers down here. If it goes on too tight and won't turn, you have to take it back apart, take this end plate back off, and take a washer out. But it should be all the same. But I think that one over there I had to take a washer out when I put it together. And there's a little felt wick in here. So I'm gonna put a little grease in there, and that must wick into the bushing somehow or another. Line up the bolt holes. See, I think the nut is on the fan side. I'll make sure it turns fine. Once you get together and it turns free, and if you have just a slight up and down movement, that's just about perfect. Put your little wiper washer back on there. And I'm going to put the other fan on there. Looks a little cleaner. And there's a little flat spot on that shaft that the set screw goes into. And that's about the position it was at when I took it off. Put it into the base. You can either put the motor in before you put the fan on, or you can slip the wire in between that slot in the base. And I guess I don't have the bolt for that. It must be up on the tractor, so I'll go install this on the tractor and see if they work. I got the fans all installed and they seem to run. I put a new filter up in here. It's just like a 1/2-inch foam filter, and just so to catch the bigger stuff right up in there. That's if you recirculate inside the cab. If you're pulling in air from the outside, where you close that up. And then the main big box filter filters the air. But I put in new drain tubes down the A-posts on both sides. So I'm ready to start it up and see if it'll cool. Hot line coming back. Just warm.